Hey Woodturners, I'm Captain Eddie Castle and welcome to my shop. But why did you have to bring in all that stuff? First day of fall here in South Louisiana. Yeah, it's late October, first day of fall. And just face is loaded with this stuff, so I decided, you know what? I'm going to get out here and make something today. So I looked around down there on the floor and I found a block of poplar. And I got to thinking, after spending 2 days at Nick Cook last week, you know what? Let's do a bowl. Now, what's the two got to do with each other? Nick had a couple of great ideas about simple bowls to make. So, most of you guys, gals, have a chuck. And you've got a screw chuck. And, well, I'll tell you what. You've got stuff, I've got wood. You got a minute? Let's make a bowl. And all you gotta do, watch. Here's my block. It's about 3 inches, 8 by 8. But don't let that drive the size of your bowl. You got a block of wood, let's make a bowl. First thing do, find the center, and that's what I've done right there. Now, if you don't have, alright, let me say this differently. If you have a bandsaw, cut it out in the circle of the piece. Why spin square corners? There are shapes that require that, and they look really good, but we're going to turn around bowl. If you don't have a bandsaw, take your table saw or any other saw and just knock the corners off. 8-sided is what I call it. Then, in that center, we're going to put it on a screw chuck. Screw chuck's going to go about 1 inch deep. I took a 3/8 drill bit and put a piece of black tape about 1 inch up. If you don't have a drill press, this is the way it happens. And by the way, the drill was in slow speed for a reason, because I forgot to put it on high speed. But it won't be so aggressive on low speed. I got a hole. I'm going to mount this on a screw chuck, but I have a bandsaw, so I'm going to knock those corners off right now. We're going to use my one-way stronghold chuck with a woodworm screw. See the woodworm screw? They make this in a couple of sizes. Now, I've got other screw chucks here that are just a cup that go on, and there's a plate that you can grab. And I've got several screw chucks. This is just my easiest and most favorite. I put the woodworm chuck screw in, and I make sure it's centered in there really well. Now, if this screw sticks out too far, can you come over here and see this? Yeah, all right. If this screw sticks out too far, shim it. See this? This will reduce the length of the screw by 1/4 inch. And that brings us down to about 3/4 or so. But I have enough room. I'm going to put this on. It works with a 3/8 inch hole. I'm going to lock my tailstock. Put this up. Now, if you need to, you can use your tailstock to put a little force on this, especially for some older turners who have a hard time muscling these things on. But I'm using a 3/8 inch drill, which gives me enough room. I didn't lock the chuck all the way. There we are. Gives me enough room to put it on there and snug it up. Now, if you're using woods like Purple Heart, ash, or others that give you some splinters, protect your hands. When you get it on, you want to make sure that you tighten it to where it is drawn up against the face of the chuck on the other side. Now, this is the bottom of the bowl. This is not the top. The top's over here on the other side. So down here, I'm going to put a little gentle sweep on it. I'm going to put a crescent in it. I'm going to put a bottom on it that's going to fit it back on my chuck on the other side so I can flip this around. Ready? We're going to make some shavings. Really, before we get this party started, I want to tell you a few things. Number one, you're looking nice today and looks like you've lost a little weight. Now that I've got your attention, I'm going to bring the tailstock up for to get this thing started. Why? Because the safest place to be turning is between centers. Number one. Number two, I went outside because that's where my belt sander sleeps. And I cleaned my tool rest. I took all the trash and junk off the top, off the face where my finger rubs, and also off this back edge because it could impact where my tool moves and how it slides. It's just simple lathe maintenance. If yours looks like it's got a million teeth on it, go fix it. Put it on a belt sander. Run it long to the belt so you don't dish it out, and straighten it out. That was number one and two and three. Now here's another one. Clean up the bed of the lathe a little bit. Just brush it off, buff it off, or whatever. I have a tool I use for cleaning mine that I happened upon. And I want you to see this. This is made by Wagner. It's a paint eater. But if you don't have this, get this. You can buy this thing, this real dense, super dense, ultra dense Brillo pad or scrubby pad, and they make them to fit in a motor, in a drill motor. In fact, they used to clean the shower walls with it. I have an old tile shower, and it removes soap scum really good. But this will buff off the bed of the lathe and not dish it out. Polish it off. You can see, I don't clean paint with it. I clean the lathe with it. Works really well. We're ready to go. I'm going to get this party cranked up. Pardon me. I'm going to start with an Ellsworth gouge. This is a 1/2 inch bar. That's how they're measured. Nothing to do with the measurements on the flute or anything. I'm going to say this is a 1/2 inch bar. This one is a knockoff. It's not a true Ellsworth. And I have a 247 grind on it. A 247 grind is 2 inches out of the jig. The jig is 4 inches below the center of the wheel and 7 inches from the face of the wheel. It's easy to do this grind and reshape this grind and touch this grind up if you're using a jig. So I know this is razor sharp. This is ready to go. I don't have to touch it up. But if you do, let's go over that. This is my grinder station. Now, what does it consist of? This is a porta cable, variable speed 8-inch grinder. I used to use a Delta GR450, but when I wanted to change to a grinder dedicated for sharpening tools instead of regular shop use, I went shopping and all I could find was a porta cable. I got to looking at it. It's the same thing. It runs down to about 1850, runs up to 3500. I really just needed the 1850. Number one. Number two, it's nice. It's balanced. It's smooth as can be. I ran it with their stone wheels and it was smooth and slick. So I knew when I changed over to these wheels, these are called CBN. And I can't remember what CBN stands for, and everybody's going to put a comment on the video to tell me, but I don't need to know. It's a CBN. I've got a light grit one and a heavier grit one. Now, I don't use the heavier grip except to shape tools. This is all I'm using. Why? Because I've got a jig. This is the Black Hawk International. It's a jig, a rig I sell that's very similar to a handful of other rigs out there for sharpening tools. The only difference in this one, there are two differences, pardon me. Number one is this little gizmo right here. This is called an Accu set. This little plate means that when I put this jig in and tighten it down, it's in the same spot it was yesterday and a day and a day and a day and a day before. So I don't have to keep resetting for the CBN wheel. It never moves. That's the beauty of it. It's expensive. Wheels are a little bit more than stone wheels, but what you get out of them is well worth it if you can afford it. Number two, the cost of this is about 1/2 of what everybody else in the marketplace gets for these rigs. About 1/2. All right? And you do get another base that you can do your pardon me, your roughing jigs, roughing gouges, regular bowl gouges, and other tools on. All my bars have a little 2-inch setback mark. It's made of different materials than this. This was a prototype, and I'm still using it. I set my jig out 2 inches from here to the tip. This is 7 inches from the face of this wheel to this pocket. This pocket's 4 inches below that nut. That's the 2, 4, 7 math. And I'll give you that free on my website. You want to see how this is done? David Ellsworth's own videos are on there. I mean, notes. His own notes on how to set it up. It's going to run to 1700, 1800 RPMs. That's all I need. Now, you saw me. I just put the jig in, set it to 2 inches. I put the bar in. This is all the sharpening I need to do to go cutting today. That's all it took. I didn't redress. I didn't reshape. I didn't over-remove material. All I did was dress it off one time. It's sharp, and I can go over there and start cutting. That simple, because I'm using a rig. I'm not standing here guessing at it and all, and I'm not wasting steel. This steel cost a whole lot of money, and I just don't like spending it. I'm ready to cut. Start shaping this piece. The lathe speed is about 800 RPMs. I'm running pretty true. I'm going to do a couple of pull cuts just to set a face. Why? Because it quickly removes material. Now I have a true face there. I'm also going to true this edge so I don't fight it. Give it a hand spin, make sure you're free. You don't jam the tool rest. Then we're going to go straight across. Now we're starting with a true face. So I'm going here and get a good bite. Why are you way out there? Come on, get in here. Get up close and personal. There you are. See that little bite? I'm rubbing 100%. Open the gouge. Watch. Open the gouge. Now, we got a good cut. We have a good true face. Everything else we do now is going to be shaping the piece. So let's reset our tool rest and start practicing our cut. Now, what do I mean by practicing the cut? Every cut I make across this face is going to be a practice. And I need to practice. So I'm going to close my tool up. You know, I'm going to find a stick. You got a minute? We're going to do a stick, okay? I got my stick. Well, really, I couldn't find an ice cream stick. I gotta go buy some of those things. But this is a pencil. This is going to give you an indication of what happens with the flute, okay? I'm going to start this cut as a practice cut. I'm going to be vertical. See this? Vertical. And then see how that goes? Go vertical. Get the bite. Got it? Why do that versus a pull cut? All right. I'm doing less damage to the surface. This is a tear that's going to happen with the soft wood unless I take finer cuts. Watch. A little bit finer cut. Better. Okay? The angle of the tool, how much you take, and how you drive it impacts the quality of the wood and the cut. Our goal, we're going to leave the base about that big. So I'm going to waste away some wood here. Okay? I've got a fairly good shape to the outside of the bowl. I want to show you a trick I use to determine if I've really got a good shape. I'm rubbing my hand over it, and oh yeah, this feels really good. Ooh, ooh, big baby, yes. All right, now, but curves don't have flat spots. This is a patented #2 flat spot locator. Yes, they're available in the fall catalog. If you take this and roll it around the outside of this piece just like that, you'll say, uh-oh. You see that? It stopped. Flat spot. Then I roll around a little bit more and realize, uh-oh, there's another one right there. So I've got a couple of flat spots to contend with. This felt good like this. The #2 indicator says there was a flat spot. Put in your fingers like this. Roll it around. You'll feel, look. Boom, boom. See? Indicator. Let's get rid of it. We're going to make another fine cut. And we're going to concentrate on not stopping there to put a flat spot in. Now that we have it fairly round, we're going to bring the speed up. I'm running about 1,200 RPMs. I'm going to get good and comfortable way over here. And I'm going to start reading that tip closed up. And then open it up slightly. See it? And let it slide down that wall. Swinging the handle the whole time. If I don't swing that handle, or anywhere I don't swing that handle, I'm going to have a flat spot. And voila! The #2, this is the older version. The older version of the #2 says, I eliminated the flat spot. I am just that good. If I was that good, I wouldn't have the flat spot to start with. what you gotta love about it. One pass, new edge. I've changed to a 3/8 inch Ellsworth. That's a 3/8 inch bar. Remember, there's no standard on this. So if I refer to that size tool, this is a bowl gouge. It's a deep V bowl gouge. Yeah, I'm still spinning up here at about 1,000, 1,200 RPMs. I need to put a good smooth bottom across here. So I'm going to read it, open it up, and let it slide. I still have my little reveal I want it for lift. The next thing I want to do is put a hole in the bottom for a foot. Now, I'm using a strong hole chuck. They come with several size jaws. The ones I currently have in here are number 2. This is my number 2 pattern. This is the minimum size. It will grab on the outside. This is the minimum size. It'll open up into the inside, plus an 1/8 of an inch on both. So I get the ultimate grab. So to do that, mark this out. That would be the size of the insert I need on the bottom. There's no guesswork. There's no ruler. There's no oh, I hope that'll work. This is it. And this little notch right here, that's the depth. And it lives with a rare earth magnet hooked onto my lathe. I'm going to put that little depression there using a multi-tool. And I'm going to block your view, so you have to move. This little tool is rather unique. I got it from Ellie Eversara 6-7 years ago. It's about 5/16 or 8 millimeters across the top, maybe 7 millimeters across the bottom. That's why I haven't been able to find one. People have shown me beating tools, badans, all that, but not tapered. It cuts really nice for what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. I removed that material on the inside. My next 2 steps. I sharpen my skew with the same angle across this face as the face of my jaws on my chuck. So I can clean this up right here. I have made this edge slightly negative, and I flatten out that bottom. And I'm going to use my fingernail gouge and clean that up a little bit. And this is ground to the same 247 grind as was on my Ellsworth, with the back relieved using the same grinder. Reach over past you. Rub the bevel. See it? There it is. Gives me a good clean cut bottom. My little detail is, because I can't write unless I have a straight line to follow. That'll help me follow when I put my name on it. This is ready to flip around. I'm going to clean this up a little, do a little sanding around here. But sanding is so exciting, I hope you'll forgive me for letting you miss it. I almost forgot two little details. Number one, set your center. Go back in and put a mark where the center is. Very small mark. You just want to set the center. And number two, that pocket back in there, that has to be perfectly clean. If you've got a bump or a lump back in there, your chuck won't sit on it and won't grab right. We'll talk more about that in a minute. I sanded the outside of this to 220. Why? I wanted to look and see if I had any grain tears in here that I would need to fix with another cut or shear scraping or whatever. And I'd made some really good cuts on those last couple of passes, so I didn't have any marks on here I'd have to go back and address. Now I'm going to wet sand this piece of kiln dried lumber. It started out as kiln dried. It was a gift from the guy at the lumber yard. So I'm going to add some water later and wet sand it before I stain it, and that's going to raise up any little marks that are in here. Let them dry and I'll sand them back off. Now I'm going to take it off the screw chuck just the same way I put it on. I am not a hero. Heroes wear capes and I've never looked really good in a cape. So I don't do the thing where I lower the speed on the lathe and turn on the power to take the screw chuck off. Why? It's a good way to wrench an arm, a wrist, a hand, pick up splinters, damage your lathe, or whatever. So I do it the old-fashioned way. I set the lock and I unscrew it. Remember I was talking about this size and letting it open. I determined that by closing it down all with 1/8 of an inch left. Okay, what are you doing way back there? Get up here. Now, that's much better. I closed down my chuck, any brand chuck this works on, and then I made a gauge that matched that dimension right there. Now that's the minimum outside dimension, and that will match what I have here. You see that? Now suppose I wanted to grab a tenon. Well, it would be that dimension there, which is the minimum inside dimension. Same position. Why? This is as close as this chuck will be to a perfect circle, so I'll get more surface area here. Now, this has picked up a lot of trash over the last couple of days, so before I chuck it up, I'm going to clean it with a little bit of sandpaper. I did that with some Soft 220 grit paper, just a utility piece. Why? I didn't want any finish. I make my chucks work, and I use them for everything. So I didn't want any finish on the face of this chuck to interfere with me getting a really good grab over here. Over here. I showed you the shape on this. I'm going to put this in place and then open the jaws to fit it. And it should spin very, very, a reference very close. You can see it does. You see a little chatoyance here from the wood, but the outside spinning through. And then snug it up a little bit more. Now, to get started on this, the first couple of cuts, I've got a center, I've got a steady rest, a tailstock. I'm going to bring it up, put the tailstock here to start shaping this up. To get started, we're going to be at about 500 or 600 RPMs. Why so slow? Hell, we're between centers. Yeah, but I just flipped this block around and put it on a chuck for the first time. I want to make sure that I'm all right. Vertical, closed. See that? Got a little bit of a bite right there. You can't see that. All right, let's get you in there where you can see what's happening. Now, closed, vertical, got that little bit of a bite. Then I open it. You have to see what's happening back here. Okay. Remember I was right here? All my effort is going to be down here. Straight down. I'm not a hero. I'm going to put both hands on the tool. That's the right way to do it. I'm holding it down. Okay, let's start clearing out some wood. I just moved back to tailstock. One thing I do when I'm doing a bowl or a hollow piece or whatever is get rid of that center. And the reason is, when I'm pushing across here, if I push clean across the center early on and I don't have my tool rest adjusted right, or my tool has changed because I'm getting tired, I could get a roll over or a roll under and I could break the piece, damage some wood, or get hurt. So with the center now, I don't have that, and I need the center to go away anyway. Shop made 3/8 inch long drill bit from the hardware store. I have a piece of tape for a marker on here, and I'm going to take the center out to within about a 1/4 inch of where it needs to be. I have it started because I have the center there already, and then just gently I'm within about a 1/4 of where I'll need to be. Now I don't have a problem with that center causing a rollover when I'm starting to hollow this out. It's a trick, but it helps. I brought the speed up to about 1200 RPMs. I got the tool rest set to where my cutter will cross that center in a comfortable arm position. Go ahead and ask me how low that is. That low. A comfortable position. I can tell you straight away, later in the day that position is going to be down here because my arm is going to want to rest. Just like the inside, the outside, the insides, these are all practice cuts. Swing it, learn to pivot that tool. And oh yeah, that hole, although that's a problem sometimes and a little bit aggravating, it keeps you from not focusing, not getting over focused on all the sweep and make the bottom too deep, which means it's outside the bowl. Close the tool up, vertical. Get a bite, twist it open. Are you watching the full length of the tool? Quit looking at just this end. Watch the full. You not, huh? All right. Now we'll have to get you back here. You can. Swing it. If you don't swing it, you'll have flat spots. We're at sort of a crucial point. I'm about a ½ an inch thick wall. This is going to be a utility piece, not an art piece. An art piece, I'd make it an 1/8 of an inch. And I'd be very careful with it. And I'd hope to goodness it doesn't crack. But it's going to be a utility piece. So the wall thickness is going to be about right there. Okay? And that's a fat quarter. Now, I am pretty uniform, and I check that by setting it at what I think is the deepest spot, and then pulling it around, and I'm very uniform. I'm within an 1/8 of an inch. Why is it critical? Because it's time to sharpen up. Really, I've cut a lot of wood with this being twice sharpened. Twice sharpened, it's really good steel, but it's cutting wood at high speed. It will get dull. So, I'm going to go over and with the jig, put a fresh edge on it before I continue. That way I get good clean cuts. And one more time before I put the last cut, I'm going to sharpen again. Before you ask me, I'm going to tell you that the edge you see on this tool is unique. Unique in that, you see what I've done? I've relieved the back side of it. Why? Because trying to turn a 1/2 inch wide blade going down that corner, I can't do it without rolling it over and getting a whole lot of blade exposed. If you're really good and you can read a big bevel and you can handle it, it's okay. But if you can't, that steel I took off back there, you never use anyway. It was support steel, and you don't need it to make these cuts. With that in mind, we make some cuts. I'm still at about 1200 RPMs, but I'm going to bring the speed up just a little bitty bit to make some nice clean passes. Close the flute. Read the edge. Open the flute. You don't swing the handle, you get flat spots. Hear that? That vibrations tell me I'm too far over my tool rest. I have to make some adjustments before I continue. I don't want it bouncing that way. Again, read the bevel. There it is. Open the tool. Too much of a cut. Step it out and take less. I stopped here because that's the result of tool chatter. See that pretty swirl? That's the result of tool chatter. I need to either get a heavier tool to make that, get my tool rest closer, or take very small cuts. But right now, to get over this, I need to bring the speed way up so I don't match those harmonics when I do change that tool. What I've decided to do, sharpen up the larger tool, move the tool rest a little bit closer, and go in and take a nice easy slice. But I raised the speed. See, raising the speed got rid of the majority of it. If you match the harmonics, you'll get the same chatter. Let's talk about that. It's not a belly button, it's not an innie, it's not an outie. You come across there, you need to go all the way across. If you're lifting when you get there, coming around, you can have an outie. If you're doing this, when you get there, you're going to have an innie. It's supposed to be the same smooth contour as the rest of the bottom. It's not supposed to be a bump. It's not supposed to be a divot. Enough preaching. I just see a lot of beautiful bowls with that defect. It's like a platter with the bottom not being flat. Nothing sandpaper won't fix unless there's nothing there. This feels really good, except this feels to be about 1/16 of an inch higher than the stuff around it. So we're going to clean that up a little bit. I just made one pass and got rid of that little what I thought I felt. Now, the next step is to sand this thing up and get it cleaned up. Couple of words of caution. This is soft wood. I just hit it with a tool rest, coming out with a tool rest. That's a mark. I have to address that mark. That mark will go away when I wet sand because it's going to make, I bruised it and it's going to make it rise. Some woods, that won't happen. So, with this, I'm going to go ahead and get my little sanding rig out. And my sanding rig is just a self-propelled sander. And I'm going to let the self-propelled sander clean this thing up. This is a self-propelled sander right here with a 2-inch pad. This is a bushing, and the bottom of there is a rare earth magnet. This end is a straight end right here, and when introduced to the wood, it spins. You can see it, and it does the sanding. It's a self-propelled sander. On my website, you'll find the bearing and the rare earth magnet for making them. If you want to make a double end one, you need 2. You will make something that costs $50. Works just as well. Let me tell you what I've done. I sanded it to 220 and I used my self-propelled sander. This is with the 3-inch and an isolation disc. And all my sanding supplies come from, Vince Welch at Vince's Wooden Wonders. Oh, if you're buying sandpaper someplace else, you're really missing a boat. Check this guy out. Now, since then, I have wet it because when I came up in the cabinet shop 51, 52, 53 years ago, we used to wet wood, even finished furniture, to get the grain to rise so we'd get a really good finish on it. And just wetting this a little bit, I can feel a couple of puffs coming up. Now those puffs are going to come up when I start putting the finish on, and then I have to fight them then. Well, I'm only going to fight them one time, right now. So I'm going to let this dry completely dry, and then I'm going to sand that out. Now I stopped at 220, I'll go to 400 because it's just wood. And then in video number 2 and video number 3, we're going to color it and stain it and then put a CA finish on it. The CA finish I have to really work with you on because you didn't hear some of the things I told you don't do. And this time I'm going to shout at you if I have to tell you what you should not do to get an ultimate CA finish. And I'm talking about one that looks like it's dipped in glass. And it's not hard to do. You can go from this to a dipped in glass piece in less than 1 hour. Less than 1 hour. So that's going to be our project. Oh, wait. The Black Hawk rig. Okay. I get questions about the Black Hawk rig. 3 versions of this thing. Number 1 is just this rig. Right here. This jig. This jig is $15. Yeah, all you get's a jig. $15, $5.15 shipping. Available on my website. And I'll give you the directions from David Ellsworth on how to build your own sled to make it work. Version number 2, I give you just the ends. This end for your roughing gouge. And an end just like this for your bowl gouge, your Ellsworth type grinds and your fingernail grind, etc. That's version number 2. That's $50. Now, and that's about 1/2 of what everybody else in this industry gets. And version number 2 comes with the AccuSet. See the AccuSet? What I can't figure out, guys, really, why isn't this coming with everybody else's? Everybody's got the same problem with resetting, and everybody's wasting steel. Hello? Are they just interested in selling tools? That's my soapbox, but I'm not. Version number 3, I will put it together for you and give you the bar drilled with the stop, and I give you this little 2-inch setback thing so you can quickly set your tool. I'll give you the other bar with the pocket on the end of it. The bars and all, that's a special telephone-only order. You have to call me because I'm going to make it for you. I don't keep those in stock. Really should. But I only get 1 or 2 calls a week. The rest of the time you guys will buy the International and go to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy your own piece of tube or put wood on it. Hey, it's wood'll work. Now, if you're interested, check out my website, www.eddiecastellan.com. And that's also where you're going to find the best deal on carbide cutters. The best deal. And I have cutters to fit almost everybody's tools. But measure your tool, get your caliper out, measure your cutter. It's sold in metric size only. Why? Because that's how they're sold to me. I mean, people on the flip side of this world work in that number. So I buy in that number and I sell in that number. So they're on my website on the cutters only page, all those cutters. And I'm now stocking a new 10.7 millimeter, little bit bitty ones, and a little 8 millimeter round one, and all kinds of other shapes. I got them. Check them out. You know, this has been a pretty good day. I came on here. I shaped up a good project. I had a major sinus headache when we got started. Still a little bit of scratchy throat and all. But I got to make some shavings. Thanks for joining me. You take care, and I'll see you soon. Don't forget, number 2 and number 3 is going to be finishing up this bowl. Yeah. Shavings. And they're everywhere. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Yes. See you later. Ooh-wee.